craft mat. And let me share with you what we're working with today. I think it was just last week that I showed you 3 ways with the daffodil bundle. So today I'm going to show you another way with that bundle. I think eventually you're going to fall in love with it too. So this is the Daffodil Daydream bundle. It's got the nice stamp set, beautiful full open wide smiling daffodils, a single stem. This sentiment is Happy Mother's Day or Easter blessings. You've got the little butterfly and some splatter, and the coordinating dies that actually build the daffodils out for you as well. So you can go 2 different ways with the daffodils, stamping and coloring or building the daffodils. That's what the dies will do for you. And as Debbie and I already know, the Daffodil Afternoon paper is in the Celebration catalog. It's a freebie, only till the end of the month though. So you get the beautiful paper and you've got lots of options with the papers. Some of them have dark backgrounds and some of them, when you flip them over, they have the lighter, springier colors with some geometrics and just some basic graphic designs. So a really good option. If you're going to purchase the bundle, make sure you get the paper, right? All right, so let's talk about how we're going to make that card that I have already lost. I'm going to bring it in, show it to you one more time. So I set this up as an Easter card. So I know Easter is just a couple months away, but you want to prepare early, especially the trend I'm starting to notice now with Stampin' Up! Is things are starting to go out of stock, unorderable. Early on during celebration, I was able to order every time I placed an order, things were available, and I was really, really pleased. But I think as we've come into the promotion period and into the new catalog, things are starting to become depleted. So that's why I want you to get a jump on your spring cards. So the way this one works, you pull it open. We are showcasing the designer series paper. Look how I have a pretty little panel that says, "May the beauty of Easter fill your heart with hope." And that is not part of the stamp set, but let me share with you the stamp set that I got it from, because it just happens to be a stamp set that coordinates for all your holidays. So A Wish for Everything, this is one stamp set. And what I love about it is you've got the holiday outside greeting, and then you have a greeting for the inside of the card. Now I have a stamper, she's forefront in my mind, who always gets disappointed when we don't have a stamp to stamp inside, because some people like to write their note on the inside, and some people like a little bit of help and jumpstart that message. These are great messages to get jump started on your message on the inside. Now I can still sign it, opening it flat that way, but I chose to leave this panel empty because who wants to cover all of those smiling daffodils, right? So this is what we're going to do. Another thing I love about this card is look how you also get a peek at the back of the paper. Stampin' Up's papers always have 2 beautiful sides, and it's hard to determine which side you want to use. So, and that's the case for this as well. I could have showcased the pretty pale papaya flirty flamingo stripes on one side, and you would still get a peek at the daffodils, but I love these stems, this field of daffodils, just so pretty. So let's get started. You know what I'm using. I am going to pull in these pieces you want to have when you are stamping. So we're going to start with, first of all, this is a wide piece of the designer series paper with that field of daffodils. It measures 5 1/4 by 11 inches across. And remember, the flip side has the diagonal stripes. Now, I also need some cardstock. I'm going to have a card base, and I picked very vanilla, the thick cardstock. It's going to measure 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So that's the standard card size, meaning it will fit into the standard envelope for mailing. I also need a piece of coordinating cardstock, and I chose the Evening Evergreen. It's one of the recommended cardstock colors that goes with this designer series paper. You can see how pretty it matches up with the leaves from the daffodils. I have 2 3-inch squares of very vanilla, the lighter weight cardstock. This is what I'm going to be stamping on and bringing in the background. By the way, the coordinating cardstock I modified from my mystery stamping last night. So if you were at my mystery stamping and you took down dimensions, this one is a little bit different. This one measures 6.5 across, 3 1/4 high, and I've scored it right in the middle at 3 1/4. So it's going to be a 3 1/4 inch square. The 3-inch square is going to layer over it. You can see how it's coming together. And I also have a scrap for stamping. Okay, so that's where I'm going to stamp my image, and I'm going to do some die cutting. I'm going to be blending with my blenders, and minimal supplies, right? Now, my tool, my number one tool, is going to be my Stampin' Trimmer. I'm going to be scoring. I've already pre-cut my paper. I'm going to pull in my designer series paper, and here's where you're going to want to make your choice of which side of paper you want to use. If you wanted to use the diagonals, I would have that facing up on the trimmer. I'm going to use the daffodil, so this is where I'm going to score. Well, let's see if I can bring this in right here. And you can see my scoring measurements. Let me move my sample out of the way, and I'm going to butt it up to the top of the trimmer, and I'm actually going to extend the arm because I do need the 7 inches there. And hang on. Let's see. All right, let me take a sip. I think I'm ready to get started. Hopefully you've got some light on my project. I have shadow coming in, right? Sorry about that. Uh-oh, there we go. All right, so I am going to push it up to 1 3/4. So right up here, and I'm going to get that cutting blade out of the way. I don't want to cut my paper. I'm going to score on 1 3/4. I'm going to push it up to 3 1/2. And the next score is going to be 5 1/4. So you can see we're going 1 3/4 pleats, 1 3/4 inch pleats. And then the last one is going to be 7 inches. And we are done with the score trimmer. I'm going to grab my next essential tool, my bone folder. I can't make a project without those two tools. They are truly the essentials. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold closed, and I'm going to burnish that down. And now I'm going to do Z folds. So now I'm going to come over at the next score line, which is going to be 1 3/4 fold. I've got another pleat at 1 3/4, so I'm going opposite direction. Everyone goes opposite, and then opposite again. Now, here's this point where I can actually train the paper, and if anything is askew, you can force the paper to be right on the line where you want it. Use your bone folder, and you've got some nice creases there. All right, so this is mounted directly onto our card base. Remember, the card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And what I'm going to do, I did get my, let's see, I got my PAL, the Stampin' Seal in. I'm going to go ahead and get my silicone mat, and I am back in business with my seal. So I'm just going to put some along the perimeter. This is the part that's going to be sealed down. And let me put just a tiny bit more up in the corners there. There we go. And this is going to get centered onto my Very Vanilla. And I'm going to have about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So I'm just trying to bring it in. Make sure I've got about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And there we go. Okay, so there is the foundation of the card. Now we're going to create our focal point, and we're going to do some stamping. And I am stamping on Very Vanilla. I picked the Very Vanilla, and on this paper you could go either way. You could go with the basic white, make it nice and bright, or you can go with the coordinating Very Vanilla that's in the background of the designer series paper. Now this is a red rubber stamp, so I don't need my piercing mat. I'm going to bring in some Memento black ink, and I'm going to stamp down onto my 3-inch square. This is going to be the front of the card. And let's see if I can do this straight. And my tip is to stamp first and then adhere, just in case it doesn't go right and you need to re-stamp. You always have the option of flipping the paper over. I think I'm out of bounds here, but what I'm trying to do is make sure that I'm straight here. So there we go. Not bad. So that's what I want on the front panel. I am going to take my sentiment from A Wish for Everything. On the inside panel, I'm going to have, may the beauty of Easter fill your heart with hope. So as I said, A Wish for Everything is perfect if you like to have something on the inside of the card. Some people just like the space, like it blank, so that they can write their own note. And there we go. And then let's see, what else am I going to do? I am going to stamp the scattered sprinkles onto the base of the inside panel. And I'm still using Memento Black. I'm going to add one of the little butterflies from the stamp set. And I'm just going to stamp right under here. There's still plenty of space to write a little note and sign your name. Now, these panels are done, but I also need to stamp the star of the show, that beautiful spray of daffodils. I'm going to push those aside for just a second. I'm going to bring in my Very Vanilla scrap and ink up. And because I'm coloring with blenders, I'm using my Memento Tuxedo Black pad, which is what you want to use when you're coloring with alcohol-based markers. So let's see. This way it is going to be die cut. I might need to trim it out because I've got my mini at the ready here. There we go. Going to cover that up and bring in, okay, so let's start. I'm going to push that aside. We're going to do some coloring in just a second. But you know me, I like to eliminate some of my layers before I lose them. So I'm going to bring in that Evening Evergreen cardstock that measures 6 1/4 by 3 1/4. I'm going to get my bone folder. I'm going to go ahead and fold it back on the valley fold. And what you're going to see is that my fold is to the right. So this is going to be the front panel here. I'm going to adhere that just with some Stampin' Seal. Let's bring in my silicone mat and put a little seal on there. And this is going to have, I'm going to open that up. It's going to have about a 1/8 inch border. Oh, at the last minute I kind of tilted it. There we go. And facing the same, this is going to be aligned right there. So this is going to be the front of the card, and this is the middle panel that has my greeting. I want them on the same side. So they both, oh, I got lucky on that one. I didn't use my mat, and I still put the adhesive on correctly. Okay, so again, about 1/8 inch border all the way around. There we go. And sticking with eliminating my layers, this time I'm going to use my Memento ink, and I'll tell you why. Remember, Memento is very forgiving, whereas the seal, once it lands, it's hard to move about. Just let's hope I've still got some glue in here, and I just might need to unclog it. The Stampin' Seal and the Seal Plus, once you glue it, that's where it's going to land. It's difficult to adjust. With the Tombow liquid glue, you have the option of kind of tweaking it, which is what I like, because sometimes it doesn't land in just the right spot. Now I'm going to go for, in essence, what this is going to do, it's going to go flat at the back panel, and then it's going to be centered, so I can kind of push this closed. What I'm going to want to do is have it centered horizontally and vertically, like so. And see, this is where if you had seal, it would be a little tough to adjust if it didn't land where you want it to. And I'm just going to burnish that down, flip it open, and there you go. There's my inside panel. This is where you write your message, and you're going to get to see the pretty daffodils still. And oh, I forgot to do something. Rats. Okay, I'm still gonna, let's see if I can share with you still, because before I adhered that, I should have added the ribbon, but I have an idea. You can see how I would correct it, because I do want to correct it. I want the ribbon on there. And, all right, my friends, so I am going to grab another 3-inch piece of Very Vanilla, and what you're seeing is the troubleshooting that goes on when you craft, because I don't know if your project comes out perfect first try every time. I know as a crafter, I'm always trying to figure out, how am I going to fix this because I made a mistake, something got inky that shouldn't have. There's just a multitude of things that could go wrong. And so this happens to be one of the things I should have done a step before I adhered that on there. But what I'm going to do is, the best way to fix something is just to cover it up, right? So I am going to re-stamp that Easter Blessings, bring it back in, and hopefully I still get a good inking. Let me see, I'm going to need to bring it down just a little bit. And this Easter Blessings comes from the stamp set itself. And I want a little bit lower, right around there. Oh, and I got that little outside line, so good thing. So I'm gonna try it again, but before I try it again, I'm gonna bring in my chamois, if I can find it someplace. And the chamois is not available, but I definitely want to clean that before I re-ink, because I don't want to get that shadow inking again. So I've got a little wipe. I'm going to flip that stamp over, and I've got the tiniest bit someplace on here. There is ink, and it came down onto my cardstock. So I just kind of get my, if I had my chamois handy, you can see there's a little bit of ink on there. If I had my chamois handy, that's what I would have used. Can't find it at the moment. So I'm going to try again with the Easter Blessings, and fingers crossed it comes out better this time. And let's see here, I want it low, right around, you see I hesitate, I want to get it right on the second time. All right, much better. So what I'm going to do next, where is it? So let's see, I should have ribbon at the ready here. And what I'm using is gold. And I'm going to cut about 16 inches. It's going to be a little bit easier to manage if I cut it first. So I need my ribbon scissors, and I'm just going to use my grid paper here and measure out about 19 inches. All right, now I'm going to wrap it first, and I'm going to tie a bow to the right. And let's see if I can do this. My tip is always to make sure that there are no extra turns or twists in the ribbon. Just like so. I'm going to bring that up and around. And there we go. Now that's better. And I'm going to adjust that just a little tiny bit there. And then I'm going to put it onto that front panel. And I'm trying to make this right. I'm trying to be the boss of the ribbon. And right now it's not working. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is attach that right over top. No one will know that I goofed up and forgot to add my ribbon first. Whoops. All right, so that's how I fix that. And because it's 3 inches, it's going to go right over top of the previous piece. And there we go. Much better. Now I'm happy. All right, I do have a tiny bit of glue peeking out there, so I just get a little tiny piece of cardstock and remove it. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to push that aside and I'll trim the tails on it later. I'm going to bring in my stamped image, and what I'm going to do is color it with Stampin' Blends. And I am using Daffodil Delight, the light and dark. I'm using Old Olive and the light soft succulent and the dark evergreen. Wow. So, or I think I also want the, let's see, I want the light and dark succulent. I don't know if I'll use that evergreen. And the reason I'm using all these greens is the paper, the coordinating paper states it has Pear Pizzazz green. We have no Pear Pizzazz blend. However, they are blends, and so you can make your own colors, right? So that's what I've done. I've started off with a light Old Olive. That's how I'm going to color the stems. And I'm just going to do, I'm using the pen tip because the stems are kind of narrow. I don't want to have to lift a lot of color off. So here we go. All right, and here we go. Right, like so. There are, and take your time, there's lots of little bits of the stem peeking out everywhere. Another one there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is add a little bit of another type of green, the soft succulent. I'm going to blend that in. So we're going to create more of a daffodil stem green. And it should coordinate a little bit better with the paper, with the green that's on the paper. And let's see. I am going to bring in that evening evergreen, which is one of the colors in the paper. And just with the pen tip, I'm going to come in some of the shadowy areas, make it a little bit darker. Right along the stems. And what I'm going to do then is bring back the Old Olive, and I'll go ahead and blend that in so we can get our truer color for the stems. Much better. Blend it in. And so that's what you do when we don't have the exact color in a Stampin' Blend, is you can make your own color, right? Okay, so my daffodils are yellow daffodils, so I'm going to start with the light daffodil yellow, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color all the way around, and I'll come back in with the dark and get in those shadow areas, darker areas under the stems or under the flowers, and wherever the stamped image has the lines, it's kind of guiding you on where to add the darker application. So really simple. Bring in, and I'm using again my pen tip, and all I'm going to do is come in and add some little dark, I was going to say dark highlights, that makes no sense. Just right in here, wherever the line art has that area, and around, usually underneath the folds. So this daffodil is really easy to color. So what I love about the daffodils and all the springtime flowers, the tulips, the snowdrops, they are just gorgeous. Then come later in the season come the gladiolas. All of these seasonal flowers are so striking. And of course the daffodils are great for Mother's Day, for Easter, and I've done sympathy cards with them as well. So great to have on hand. Now I'm going to trim the paper up as soon as I can find my paper snips, the correct ones for cutting paper, because I'm going to pass this through the mini. I've got it at the ready. Let's see if I can just kind of trim that out. And I'm going to bring in the mini. And my plates, it tells me right on here what I need. I need plate number 1, then I need plate number 2, I need my paper, and I need a die. Pretty simple here. And I'm just gonna align that, and sometimes if I feel a little nervous, I might put washi tape on it. I'm just gonna do this here. And remember, on the mini, you want to kind of scatter the stack. You don't want to have it precise. Run that through. And that just helps feed it into the mini. If you're struggling and having to muscle it through, it means the sandwich is too perfect. And you just need to kind of stagger the plates a little bit. So there we go, a nice cut with a nice little white or very vanilla border all the way around. And I'm going to bring back in my card. And this is going to go atop with dimensionals. So let's see, I'm going to bring that down. And let's see, I've got some mini dimensionals handy. And I'm just trying to notice where I do not want to place dimensionals. I don't want to have them too high or too low. So, and I'm using the minis. You get so many minis on your sheet and in your envelope that it's nice to be able to support the die cuts all the way through to those tiny spots. There we go. And you can see the alcohol blenders, they did soak through, which is what they're supposed to do. And that's one reason you don't want to color directly onto your cardstock if you're going to be seeing the flip side of it. There we go. And I'm going to bring this in at an angle, like so. And I'm ready to trim out that ribbon. The tails are a little bit too long, and let's see, I don't like that one poking through that way. Let me bring it flat. That's better. Just like so. And I'm going to trim this up too as well. All right, and so there is our fun fold for today, featuring the Daffodil Daydream bundle. Here's my original, and you could swap out the greeting for Happy Mother's Day, because that's another springtime holiday that's coming up. Happy Mother's Day, and A Wish for Everything has a nice little stamp that coordinates with it. First, it says, "First my mother, forever my friend." So this will work both ways, and here you could stamp first my mother, forever my friend, or make it the Easter blessings stamp greeting. All right, so last night on our mystery stamping, we created it's almost the exact duplicate, but what I'm going to share with you is this square is a little bit bigger. This was a 3.5-inch square, and I just felt like it was too dominant on the cover or on the front of the card. Obviously, that's a sympathy card, and this came from Peaceful Moments, I believe, Deepest Sympathy. Sadly, these days I need a lot of these. Yeah. Thank you, Debbie. They're very simple to make. Just remember the score lines. And I also use the Heart and Home paper for a thank you. So pretty little card as well. You are a real blessing. So there we go. That fun fold is really easy to make. and I hope you'll give it a try. I also hope you'll join me in my daffodil class that's coming up. The deadline to register on the daffodil class is February 27th. And if you join me late, here are the cards we're going to be making. You'll get a sneak peek. We're doing a 3D project, an Easter card, the Mother's Day card, and a blank card, so you could make it for whatever you like. The card class includes the gingham bumblebee ribbon, the lattice, the paper lattice, and the brushed brass butterflies as part of your class. So I hope that you'll join me either through the mail or in person. Either way, the deadline's the 27th. If you want to add on the bundle, you actually get a double discount because you get your 10% on the bundle, but you also get free shipping and no tax when you order it through me along with your class. Plus, you're going to earn your celebration papers. So I hope that you decide to join me on that. If you have any questions or comments about the card we made today, there are our scoring measurements, and there's the pretty Easter card that we created. I hope you get time to craft this weekend. Thank you for joining me. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week.